All right, here we go. Starter. All right, so last week we started talking about polynomials. Remember, polynomials are groups of numbers and letters that are separated by pluses and minuses. We talked about the degree, like how to calculate that. We talked about something called a leading coefficient. We talked about adding and subtracting them. So that's basically just what we're going to be doing right now and kind of reviewing all of that because I'm sure some of us have forgotten, and that's okay. All right, so for every single problem, 1, 2, 3, and 4, we are going to write it in standard form. So rearrange it so that the biggest exponent comes first, then smaller, then smaller, then smaller. Identify the degree. So say what the degree of the polynomial is. Write the leading coefficient and then name it. Is it mono, bi, tri, or poly? All right, so let's start with number 1. Let's rewrite it in standard form. So I'm rearranging this. What do we think? What is this in standard form? X, the same thing, right? How can you rearrange one term? Like there's nothing to rearrange. So it's just X. Okay, so the next thing we have to do is identify the degree. So remember how we said the degree means it is the exponent of the variables. So look for your variables and find out what the exponent is. And you might have to add them together if there's more than one. So someone other than Luis, what is the degree? 1, right? It's X to the imaginary 1. So my degree is to the first power. Okay, the next thing I have to do is the leading coefficient. So remember how we said the leading coefficient is kind of like the line leader. It's the number that comes first before your letter after you put it in standard form. So I put it in standard form. What's the number that comes first? 1, right? X is just 1x. So my leading coefficient is 1. If I don't see a number, it's always 1. And then finally, let's name it. So you have mono, bi, tri, and then poly. So what do we think? Mono, right? Mono means 1, so this is a monomial. Okay, that was hopefully the easiest. Let's move on to number 2. For number 2, same exact thing again. First thing I want to do is write it in standard form. So this time I actually do have to rearrange it. So when I rearrange these things, first of all, to see if it's positive or negative, you always look at the symbol before. So this is a negative, this is a positive, and this is a negative. Okay, look at the biggest exponent and then do the next biggest and then the next biggest. Does someone think they can write this in standard form for us? Read, go.
Negative 10x raised power of 9 minus 3x to the second power plus 5y.
Perfect. Okay, so let me tell you why this is negative 10, because you see how that's minus 10? This is minus 3 because it said negative 3. This is plus 5 because you see plus 5. So the positive negative symbol before always tells you whether it's a plus or a minus. And then this has the biggest exponent. That's an 8 and a 1. So that's 9 total. That's just 2. And then that's just 1. Okay, so your degree. So remember, the degree is not just you adding up every single exponent. It's taking the biggest one and then running with that one. So it's not 12. Your degree is not 12. You're not adding every single exponent. You're finding the biggest number, the biggest degree in each term, and then selecting that as your answer. What do you think? 8. Close. Not 8. 9, right? Because you have 8 here, which is obviously going to be the biggest one, but you have the imaginary 1 as well. So 8 plus 1 gives you 9. So 9 is the degree right here. All right, leading coefficient. This is where a lot of kids mess up and get it wrong. I will tell you right now, your leading coefficient is not negative 3. The reason why it's not negative 3 is because that wasn't written in standard form, so you should not be looking at that one. So instead, what number is your leading coefficient? Owen? Yeah. Do you see how after you put it in standard form, then you look for the number in front. So your leading coefficient is negative 10, not negative 3. Okay, finally, we have mono, bi, tri, poly. What do we think? Tri, right? You have 1, 2, 3 terms. You have 3 groups of numbers or letters. 3 means tri, so it's called a trinomial. And that's it. Okay, Let's do number 3. Let's ask you online kids now, okay? So online kids, speak up, please. In standard form, you have 9 plus, this is a negative, 9 plus negative 3x squared yz to the third. So rearrange that to put it in standard form. So someone online, unmute yourselves and say it, please. Am I muted?
Negative 3x to the power of 2 yz3 plus 9.
Thank you. This has a bigger exponent, right? That's why it comes first. It's a negative because you look at the symbol before, and so that's why you write that it's a negative. And then this is a plus 9, not because you see a plus here, but because it's a positive 9, right? Right before, it was a positive 9. That's why it's plus 9, not because you see that plus there, okay? But right before, it's a positive 9. Okay, thank you, Luke. Someone different, the degree. Can someone different online shout it out? What is the number of the degree?
Nine.
Close, not 9. Someone else online?
6.
6 is correct, Amundo. Okay, so you take the biggest exponent, which would be this group right here, and then you add up all the exponents. So you have 2 plus 1 is 3. 3 plus 3 is 6. That's how you get 6 as your degree. All right, leading coefficient. Someone different online. What do we think?
-3.
Thank you. So remember, it's not 9. It's not the first thing in the problem. You have to put it in standard form. After you put it in standard form, then what's in front? The -3. Finally, mono, bi, tri, poly. Someone different online. What do we think?
Bi.
Thank you, because there's 2, right? 1, 2 groups, so it's called a binomial. All right, the last one looks the easiest because it's the shortest, but it's actually the hardest one, okay? So, standard form, 16. What is 16 in standard form, guys? 16, just the same, right? You can't rearrange only one thing, so you just copy it down. Okay, so that's hopefully not too bad. Degree, I wonder if you remember this from Friday, because this is kind of a trick question. What is a degree, guys? 0. Good job. It's not 1. I know some of you are like, no, it's 16 to the 1. No. Remember the rule for a degree? It has to be for the letter. It has to be for the variable. There is no variable here, so your degree is 0. Next one. Okay, this is, we've never talked about this before, the leading coefficient. And I'll tell you right now, it's not 16. Rowan?
1.
Not 1.
It's not 0.
It's not 0.
7.
Not 7. Okay, so it's none. There is no leader or no leading coefficient. So the reason why, because you're like, wait, there is a leader. 16 is the leader. Leading coefficients are kind of like degrees. It only works for variables. If you don't see a variable, there's no degree. If you don't see a variable, there's no leading coefficient either. Okay? All right, mono, bi, tri, poly. Mono, good job. Monomial. All right. So hopefully that kind of recaps what we talked about in the very beginning, all the vocab. So remember, if you're interested in doing the IXL, I put them on what is it called? A Schoology as well. You could do the first 2, Z1 and Z4, totally doable right now, okay? I know it's due on the 29th. You have like 20 more days, not 20 more days, maybe 15 more days, 17 more days to get it done. But don't procrastinate, okay? Because your next group of IXLs are only due like 5 days after that. And so you want to get working on those too, okay? All right. This one. Number 5. Does anyone remember, how do I approach this? Like, what do I have to do for this problem? Because there is something special I had to do because there's a minus in between. Tessa, rewrite it. How do I rewrite it?
When you just first moment, when you distribute the 1 without doing the same, then you distribute the -1.
Okay, so Tessa's saying the first group of parentheses, if I were to distribute the 1, you get the same answer. So I'm just going to recopy the first group of parentheses. So I just recopied it. And then Tessa said, but for the second group of parentheses, I can't just recopy it because I'm no longer distributing a positive 1. It's not a plus, it's a -1. So I'm rewriting it, but I'm rewriting it with opposite symbol. So instead of a minus 6x squared, I have a plus 6x squared. Instead of a plus 11x, it's a minus 11x. Instead of a plus 9, it's a minus 9. Okay, so I'm going to tell you guys this again. A lot of you are going to be lazy and you're not going to rewrite it and you're going to try to just do it all in your head because you're like, oh, you're just flipping the symbol. Please don't do that because if you get one tiny negative wrong, then the entire thing is wrong. Okay, so spend the extra 5 seconds just to rewrite the problem so it's very clear what is positive, what is negative. The second thing you do now is you just combine your endings that are the same. So x squareds go with x squareds, x's go with x's, normal numbers go with normal numbers. Does someone think they have the final answer? Rowan.
12x squared minus 14x plus 1.
Good. So guys, if you get any part of this wrong, like you wrote a negative as a positive, or instead of 12, you wrote 10 or whatever, like the whole thing is wrong. So do yourself a favor and just rewrite your whole problem. Okay? Let's take a look at number 6. For this one, do I need to flip any of my symbols? No, right? Because there's a plus in between. So if I don't need to rewrite any of my symbols, like if you're just distributing by a positive 1 and distributing by a positive 1, you really don't do anything different. So I'm just going to recopy my entire problem. And then just combine them all. At this point, you really don't have to rewrite it if you really are truly that lazy. Like, I mean, I'm still going to just because the parentheses kind of confuse me with extra symbols. But I feel like this one, you don't really have to rewrite. I think you can get away with it. But again, it's your call. Okay. And then combine things that have the same endings. And remember, negative x to the third is the same thing as saying -1. Okay. There would be a 1 there if you don't see a number. So go ahead and combine things that have the same endings. Try to do it in order of biggest exponent first, then smaller, smaller, smaller. And remember, the symbol before always tells you if it's a positive or a negative number. Someone other than Rowan, did you get an answer? Jack, go.
Negative 14x cubed plus 11x squared minus 27x plus 1.
And that would be it. Good job. Okay. I think you get the point. Do you guys want to do number 7 or can we just skip it?
Skip it.
Okay, let's just skip it. I think because it looks exactly like this one up here, I hope that you can understand how to do it. If you can't, then try it and ask me if you got it right and I can explain it to you. Okay. One final thing I want to tell you just to kind of get you, I guess, understanding for tonight for your video notes is, can I just show you something? You don't have to write it down, but just listen, okay? So far we've been adding exponents and subtracting. So if I have like 2x to the second plus 3x to the second, you see how they have the same exponents? this would be what? 5x to the second, right? So 2 plus 3 is 5, and then your exponents, they don't change because you're adding them together. Tonight, it's going to be different. If I were to say 2x to the second times 3x to the second, does anyone think they can guess maybe what this answer is? Owen?
6x to the 4.
Yeah. So do you see how when you multiply, you actually have to combine your exponents and then add them up? But when you add, you don't. Okay? Because if you have 2x squared, that's like saying x squared plus x squared. And then plus, you have another 3 of them. So how many x squareds do you have? You have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of them total. But here you have 2 times x times 3 times x. So 2 times 3 is 6. How many x's do you have now? Because you're multiplying them all. You have to add them. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, so tonight for your video notes, your exponents are going to change because you're multiplying them. Today for your level work, they're not going to change because, well, you're still adding them, okay? So at this time, what you're going to do is you're going to do your level work. I know the answers to the level work are not online, so you can either stay on the Meet or come back to the Meet if you want to double check your answers. Or if you are in person, I'll have the answers on my desk and you just physically walk up to my desk and you check them there. Okay, so please check your answers if you're the least bit unsure. After you do your level work, please submit them so you don't forget, and then you can start tonight's video notes. Okay, if you have any questions, let me know. Kip, I want to talk to you really quick. Everyone else, you can go if you want to. I'll see you guys tomorrow. Bye.